You might not have a favorite Counter-Strike team, but this is going to help you pick one. Or, at best, it's going to let you make fun of your friends for the ones that they support. Let's start off with Vitality. They're effectively like the Real Madrid or the Los Angeles Lakers of Counter-Strike. They're historied in greatness. They've won countless events. When you think of their players, you think of the greatest of all time. Whenever you think of Rox, Zywoo, and Apex, they're going to be in the Hall of Fame for sure. And Flamesy and Mezzy, they're no slouches either. This team might not be currently the best in the world or in their best form, but when they're firing on all cylinders, they're almost impossible to compete with.
Nothing can stop them! No one can stop them!
And not to mention, they're a team that you can't bet against. Even though they might not be favorites, you're still going to pull for them, and you're always going to be afraid to play them. Shifting gears over to the Mongolz. They're basically like Leicester City or the Oakland A's. They've made impossible runs. They were generational underdogs, winning the Prem when nobody could believe them. They invented the concept of Moneyball. They've done what other teams dreamed of, creating a nation-state team and going all the way to championship finals. Now, much like those other teams, they might be a shell of themselves. Their star-studded player Sinzu is currently not playing. They're using a fill-in named Controls. Techno and Mazzino, they're going to try to take that team as far as they can, but without the firepower they once had, they look a whole lot like the Oakland A's when they lost their star-studded roster to bigger teams.
A Mongolian team in a major.
Now Sinzu might come back. This might not be all for the Mongolz, but for right now, it's hard to imagine that they can make a run all the way to a major finals. NaVi. They're effectively the Man United, the Chicago Bulls. They once had some of the greatest athletes in all of sports. The Michael Jordan, the Cristiano Ronaldo, and Simple.
That's not allowed! This is not FPL! This is a major!
Those names are some of the greatest to ever compete, and they had star-studded cast around them. Just like Pippen, we had Electronic and Perfecto. And the Dynasty, the run, it was incredible. But just like that, it was incredible, and it's not anymore. Simple is gone. The team is a shell of itself. Once studded in glory, they're trying to find a way back. They're trying to see if they can get back to the glory that they once had. If they make a run here, it would be nothing short of a miracle. But when you see that name, when you see that jersey, you always got to believe just a little bit. Furia is probably one of the major favorites, and you would have to say they're basically like AC Milan or the San Antonio Spurs. When you think of Milan, you think of one of the craziest set of ultra fans in the world. Much like Furia has, with all of Brazil supporting them and Madhouse TV ripping the coolest broadcast you've ever seen. Not only that, but Luka Modric, who's at the front of that AC Milan squad, he is one of the most historic strikers of all time. He is the face of Croatia and has a nation behind him. Much like Fallen is the face of Brazilian Counter-Strike. He has an army of people that have been trying to live in his footsteps for years. He's trying to see if he's got a little bit of magic left in them boots one last time. If he can wiggle the mouse just the right way, get a few more crazy op shots, they could win the whole thing. When you think about the San Antonio Spurs, you have a freak in Maladoy that might be the next generational talent, coming to fruition, possibly under the ultimate stage at a major. Next up, you've got MOUZ, which are basically like Bayern Munich or the Atlanta Braves. They're kind of like everybody's team. You almost want to pull for them. They're just young and scrappy and fun. They're also not selfish. They're not crazy. They're not outlandish. They're just very vanilla. I mean, you do have Harry Kane on Munich, which is an absolute striker, and MOUZ do have Torzy, who is an absolute unit. And it's one of those you want to pull for them. You want to see them do good, but also at the end of the day, it's hard for them to compete with the tier that's just above them. They're not quite in that upper echelon, but they're right on the cusp of greatness. And they could be an exciting team to watch. You wouldn't be surprised if they won, but you're also probably not going to be putting your money on them either. Next up, you have Aurora. They're kind of like the star-studded team out of the Netherlands, the Ajax, or the Atlanta Hawks. They have crazy passionate fans. They are one of the most supportive groups you've ever heard of. And when you look at the Atlanta Hawks, their whole offense rotates around one star player, Trae Young. And when you think of Xantares, that's who you think of. An offense that goes through a player that is absolutely dominant. Major's going to be sitting behind him making the calls, and they're trying to do this for all of Turkey. They've seen some recent success. They know what it takes to win, and they are as close as they have ever been to getting a major.
This victory in the making for over a decade as Turkish CS chased a dream that burned inside their hearts like an eternal fire.
Now, It's a really hard team to still bet for because they do still seem like they're in that second tier. However, it's also a really hard team to bet against. Now we're talking about the big boys, the Falcons. They're kind of like Man City or the LA Dodgers. I mean, frankly, they've just been buying a lot of talent. Now, the good news for the Falcons are Man City and the Dodgers, they've been winning. And that's the only thing the Falcons haven't been able to do. Now, the Falcons have assimilated a massive roster with stars like Nico, Mondesi, and now Kyosuke. And when you look at City and the Dodgers, I mean, you have everybody from Shohei Ohtani to that robot on the front line named Erlen Haaland. And it feels like the Falcons have that level of talent. Now, the hard thing, they haven't won yet. All they've got to do is get over the hump. Whenever they peak higher than anyone else. However, they have been slipping a little bit. You would imagine if there was a time to shine, if there was a time to get the first win, it's going to be at the major. This team in form is probably the best team in the world. We just haven't got to see them do that for a whole tournament. It's hard to talk about the Falcons without G2 because some of their players, well, that's where they came from. The G2 are kind of like PSG or the New York Knicks. They're a team that's been around. They're a team that has amazing fans. They're a team that sells amazing merchandise. However, they often don't get the job done. Nico, who's on the Falcons, well, when he was on G2, he just couldn't close the deal.
To perfection. And Simple sitting. No! Disaster! An absolute disaster!
Choking in a major, and it became an international meme. Feels a whole lot like those New York Knicks, unfortunately, with what Reggie Miller did to them. But this team has always a fighting chance. They're always just a little bit believable. They always stay in the running. They're never down and out, so you can't count them out. It's just at this point a little bit of a long shot if they want to make a run. Pain is a lot like Aston Villa or the Toronto Blue Jays. They're a fun and frisky team also coming from Brazil, and they've got some young and exciting talent. When you look at the Blue Jays, they're all built around Vladimir Guerrero Jr., this young, exciting kid who's taken the world by storm. That feels like a lot of potential to be Snow, who you hope can kind of anchor this team and push them deep into runs. Also, the Blue Jays just made an incredible run to the World Series, just like Payne made a very deep run at the first major of the year. They could do it again, but can they get over the hump? They seem like they might be a little bit outgunned, but they've already done it once. They've already proved us wrong once, so what's to say they can't do it this time? Not only be the best Brazilian team, but be the best team in the world. Now let's talk about spirit. They have to be compared to Napoli or the Cleveland Cavaliers. And some of you probably aren't going to get that analogy. Napoli once had Diego Maradona, who is arguably the best player in the history of soccer. The Cleveland Cavaliers, they drafted this kid, hometown talent, out of Akron, Ohio, named LeBron James, who also might go down as the greatest of all time. Spirit, you got Donk. He's homegrown. He is a Russian prodigy. He is everything you ever wanted. He's already brought you a major. Now, can you surround him with a team that is capable of winning? Shiro has came in. He's an unbelievable opera, top 5 talent in his role. The rest of the team, though, when you look at Zwei, when you look at Tanir, and then you look at Chopper, you do have question marks on this roster. Can one kid carry this team to another major? It's possible. You can't bet against them. From 5v1s to everything else, this kid is a generational talent. It is impossible to bet against him.
It's something special. He is the truth right now on the stage. Look at him go! Working his magic.
Look at that infectious smile.
But just like those other teams, that player, he might just leave if he can't get it done here. And that's what Spirit's dealing with. Next up is FaZe. They're basically the Liverpool or the Celtics of Counter-Strike. They've been exciting. They've been fun. They've been loud. They sell a lot of jerseys. They have crazy fans. And they make cool merch. But they also make some bad calls, like spending a whole bunch of money on players and it not panning out. Kind of like Liverpool. Right now, their roster is in a little bit of a weird spot. They brought in different talent that you wouldn't think they would. They are definitely not peaking at the right time, but also 12 months ago, they were in a major final, but right now they're in the first stage playing with teams we've mostly never heard of. So FaZe, it's hard to count out, but right now it really doesn't feel good. Astralis, what a name. It means something in Counter-Strike, and I know you've heard of it. Much like Juventus or the New England Patriots, this was once a dynasty. Something we never thought would end. We never thought these cats would go away. When they had Device, Dupree, and others, they felt unstoppable. Unfortunately, in 2019, that was the end of their unstoppable era. At times they make runs, at times they're exciting, at times they show us a glimmer of what we once saw. But they haven't been that in quite some time. I don't think Astralis is going to make a run here. They've got a long way to go. But you know what? They could surprise us yet again. The Danish squad is unprecedented in their success, and maybe they'll still get a little bit more. So obviously we had to talk about America. Liquid and Passion UA, the American hope, is much like the American dream. It doesn't need to be like a team at all. The American dream used to be great for a lot of people. It was a dream of most of the world. And that has since came and gone, much like American Counter-Strike did in 2018. It feels like we're in the same spot again. If they won, it would be a miracle. If Elige could hold the trophy with the American flag he represents, it would be unbelievable. But it's also unbelievably improbable, and that's why I don't think it's going to happen. Passion UA, they could make a deep run. That former Complexity squad, they're exciting to watch, but it's going to be really hard for them to make the bracket, much less make a deep run at the bracket. For now, we're still waiting on American Counter-Strike to come back, and well, it might be a little bit. But what teams did we miss? What teams do you think we got wrong? If you have any other thoughts, questions, concerns, let us know down in the comment section below. I would love to hear where you disagree, and it better not be about Man City and the Falcons. But thank you guys for watching. I'll see you soon. Peace out.